The following podcast is part of the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. For advertising information or to find more great podcasts, visit us at www.theunderdogsports.com and follow us on Twitter at RealTheUnderdog.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got Mike Bash. We got Dennis Clausen. What's going on this week, fellas?
Not much. Sorry for the delay, Dennis. We're all ready to rock and roll, though, a little later than usual, but hey.
It's okay, Michael.
Thanks, Dad.
Now we're approaching Dennis's bedtime.
All right. So, as people know, if you have listened to the last episode, or if you have not, welcome. We are talking about division previews. Last week, we did the Northwest. This week, we are switching gears down to the Southwest. So that is the Mavericks, Grizzlies, Spurs, Pelicans, Rockets. They finished in that order. The only playoff team, I guess, well, if you count the play-in tournament, it was the Mavericks and the Grizzlies. Those were also the only ones with winning records in the division. After them, you had the Spurs, Pelicans, Rockets, all looking for either to rebuild or figure out what they're going to do in terms of the Spurs point of view. So let's start off with the bottom team because they're the only team that has some news right now. We're going to start off with the Houston Rockets. They were dead last in the conference. They're dead last in the division, only 17-55. They had 30 different players at least play one game for them last season. Very process Sixers-esque of them to just have a rotating door of people. Obviously, they weren't trying to win. They traded James Harden in the very beginning of the season, and they were just a rotating door ever since. And the only news we have is that John Wall and the Houston Rockets mutually have agreed to find a new home for Wall. There's no buyout plans because on the 2 years of his contract, there's $91.7 million remaining, including a $47.4 million player option for the 22-23 season. That's straight up insane. But what do you guys see for Houston? I mean, I feel like I know what you guys are probably going to say, but what do you guys see on the horizon for them this season?
Let Dennis take this one first.
Why do I got to take it first?
So I'm interested to hear your opinion. I know
they suck. What else do you want me to say? They suck. That's it.
They suck, but hey, they have a lot of young talent at least. They got Christian. Well, Christian was not young, but they got Kevin Porter Jr., who finally got out of Cleveland, out of the G League, and he was looking like a budding star for them. They got Josh Green, the number 2 pick Jalen Green, the number 2 pick in the draft. Right. And then they got some interesting guys after that in the rest of the first round. They got, I can't say, I'm going to butcher this name, but Alperen Sagan. He's from Turkey. Sengun. Anyone know him?
I think it is.
Sengun. I've heard a lot of good things about him. He's a center. He's 6'10", 243. So he's got good size, but I heard he's kind of like a point forward. He's like the Turkish Nikola Jokic. Probably not that good, but you know what I'm trying to say. He's he's one of the new era centers where he could shoot, he could dribble, he could pass, you could run him plays through him. So him with Green, and then they got Usman Garuba, who I caught glimpses of him in the Olympics. He looked like a good player for Spain. He's probably, again, when you're relying on a lot of these European guys, not everyone's Luka Doncic. And not everyone's Dirk Nowitzki. So he's probably going to take a few years to get acclimated, come over, play, at a high level. And then Josh Christopher at Arizona State. I remember when he got recruited or when he committed to Arizona State, everyone was like, wow, Bobby Hurley got a star. Like, he didn't have the greatest of freshman years. I mean, he averaged 14 and 5. Not terrible as a freshman in the Pac-12, but like, I know he had a lot of upside coming in the college. So with the 24th pick, it's kind of like take your shot there. So you got a quartet of rookies. You got Kevin Porter Jr. You got Kenyon Martin Jr., who he may never be a good NBA player, but you got to respect Kmart. And then they got a bunch. They just got a bunch of young players. They have Matthew Hurd on a 2-way deal, so maybe he turns into something for them. They got Dyshawn Nix, who I think he was in the Ignite, right? He was on the G League Ignite.
Yeah, G League.
I honestly don't know enough about him to comment on him, but Christian Wood is really their go-to guy. And we saw some good things out of Jason Tate. He was an older rookie, like a 25-year-old rookie. Are they going to win more than 30 games this year? Probably not. Most likely not. But they have like another probably 3 or 4 picks next year with the Nets trade and the other trades they've made. And they're going to move John Wall and probably get some seconds, maybe a late first, probably not a late first. They're going to have cap space. They're going to have picks. They're going to have young talent. It's kind of like the Jets in the NFL. Like the Jets it's going to be a long season for the Jets. It's going to be a long season for the Houston Rockets. But game 1, they're going to look significantly better in game 20 than they did in game 1. They're going to look significantly better in game 45 than they did in game 20, and they're going to look significantly better in game 82 than they did in game 45. So if they can get progression, they can get their young guys to get their feet wet and get development, they'll be fine at the end of the season. Dennis is laughing. I can only think he's thinking about water ice, but I'm curious why he's laughing down there.
I thought you were trying to give me a reason why they didn't suck or why they won't suck.
Clearly, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Their average player was born in 2000.
But then you used. Okay, honey, you had your chance. So and then you use the word significantly, right? So significantly means like a monumental improvement. You're telling me that there's going to be a monumental improvement between game 1 and game 50, game 60?
I think so.
So you think they're going to, so basically, unless you're saying they're really going to suck at the beginning of the season till game 50, they're going to just suck. They're not going to suck as hard as they do at the beginning of the year. You know what I mean?
I mean, I would agree with that.
I mean, so I will agree. Go ahead.
Nothing. I was going to make a joke. Continue. You can continue.
I want to hear the joke. I want to. Let's hear
it. No, it's fine. You can continue.
So, anyways, I will agree with you though. Kevin Porter Jr. He's a real deal. He had some really good games last season. Averaged as a starter over 20 points a game for Houston. I would say right now, arguably, he's their number one piece that they got going on. They have some pieces that they can move. Who the hell knows what's going on with Eric Gordon, how long he's going to last in Houston. I have no idea how many years he has left on his contract. All I know is that he's owed a lot of money. Same with John Wall. Christian Wood, man, he played well in Detroit, but ever since he got to Houston, he's going on the list, man. Street clothes. He's got street clothes written all over him. The guy could not stay on the court, hurt his ankle, in and out of the lineup all year. Street clothes. I mean, that's not I forget what they signed him for, but the guy, he's a mess. So rebuild for the Rockets going to take a long time. And honestly, right now, I still couldn't even tell you who the hell they got for one of the best players in the league, because certainly they don't have shit to show for it right about now.
I mean,
yeah, they suck.
Very true.
They suck. They're garbage.
Okay, here I'll tell you the full trade. The full trade. They
traded
away James Harden and 2024 second round pick for Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodion Puruks, 2022 firsts, 24 first, 26 first, and then a pick swap in 21, 23, 25, and 27. They then used one of those 22 firsts and their one of the 23 firsts for that Turkish dude, Sengun. So Oladipo, Exum, Puruks, and Sengun, and all these first round picks. And then they used a second round pick that they traded in the Jared Allen trade with LeVert to get Kevin Porter Jr. So Kevin Porter Jr. is technically part of that trade.
So basically, they got Kevin Porter.
Then they
Jr.
got 2 more.
Congratulations, Houston.
They got a boatload of first-round picks, Kevin Porter Jr. and Rodion Kurucs for James Harden.
Okay.
So they basically took James Harden, got the next James Harden, and a bunch of first-round picks.
I don't think Kurucs is even on the team anymore.
No. So
Then
so
they
basically,
traded Oladipo for another first-round pick, Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk.
okay, and where are they now?
Kelly Olynyk wasn't that bad for them last year, but he's not on the team either.
Well, yeah, because they had nobody else to play. Street Clothes was on the bench the entire time. So of course
True.
Kelly's going to come in and look shit hot.
Olynyk was a
That's
good
like-
fantasy player.
Well, yeah, I mean, but honestly, they had nobody else to play. I think I remember one time they had like 9 players on the injured list going into one of the games. So, I mean, it's easy to have inflated statistical output when there's nobody to play. Kelly Olynyk is not that good. He's only good because he was on the floor. That's it. He's not like he's a great player. He's a good role player. He's a guy who could spot start every once in a while. He's just not a guy who could start every week.
No,
And then we got,
go ahead.
and then Street Clothes. I don't know what the hell happened to him, but he comes over from Detroit, gets all this hype coming from Detroit, signs in Houston, and the guy plays like 3 games. Actually 41, but still same thing. I mean, it's a disaster. You're getting Kevin Porter Jr. and some first round picks for the best player, one of the best players, arguably the best player in the league.
But what do you want them to do? They weren't going to win with him, and he wanted out. What do you, Dennis, the GM? What do you do? What are you going to get from him?
He wanted out. Big deal. He's under contract.
Okay,
You're not.
You become with James Harden and nothing else in there. You play out his contract and continuously get a 6 seed in the tough Western Conference, and that's it.
Yeah, because he's bluffing. There's no way in hell he's gonna. You could sit him out all you want, but it's hurting him just as much for him to sit out as it is for your club to not have him out there. You need to stand your ground with these guys, because if you keep doing this garbage over and over again, this is the shit that happens. The players have all the leverage right now, and you can't let these guys push you around. I'd be like, okay, well, you don't want to play. We're fining you. We're going to suspend you, and you're not getting rewarded just because you don't want to play here anymore all of a sudden.
Dennis, you would be the worst GM in the history of the NBA or professional sports.
You can't let these guys bully you around.
I mean, you literally would be the worst GM in the history of professional sports with the way you approach star players and wanting to get traded.
So what would you do if you're so smart?
I would do what the Rockets did. I would trade him for a boatload. They got 4 first-round picks, and then they expanded on that trade and got even more first-round picks, got Kevin Porter Jr. They got plenty of draft capital for a guy that didn't want to be there. And even if he was there, they were just going to be a middle-of-the-road team in the Western Conference.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? If a player wants out that bad, that's where you got to have that conversation, like a private conversation. Everybody's got to keep their mouth shut. You can only have a certain amount of people in a room. If the minute a guy starts saying he wants out of a certain team, that team's already losing leverage, and that's exactly what happened. You got to tell people, these guys, shut your mouth. We're going to say that we're rebuilding. We love James Harden. Thank you for everything you've done. You're the greatest Rocket ever. However, we're moving in a different direction. We want to go younger. We want to give James the opportunity to win a championship if we find a suitor. That's the way you go about it.
Yes. Let me ask you this. When 4 teams get hit up, hey, you want James Harden. You don't think it's going to get out? The Rockets are shopping James Harden. Then the questions are going to come. Why are the Rockets shopping James Harden?
I just answered that. Did you not listen to anything I just
did
said?
listen. but you want him to get the best price possible. But when it's clear he wants out, they're not going to get the best price possible.
No, you don't make it clear that he wants out. You say, we're moving in another direction. We're not in the championship. We're not championship contenders right now. To be fair to James, we're going to move him. We're going to make him available to anybody who wants to make us an offer. Now what happens is they're so desperate now because they know he wants out. You can lowball the team all day long because they'll take anything at that point. That's what I'm saying.
Dennis, I hate to break to you, the NBA is not fantasy football. You can't just put a player on the trade block and wait for the best offers to come in.
You're an idiot. Of course you can. You just say, James, please do us a favor. We'll help. It's the same thing with Ben Simmons.
Dennis
It's the same thing.
Dennis just wants to talk his way through every transaction he ever would make.
I'd like to hear what Alex has to say on this.
No, I mean, I agree to a certain extent that
Thank you. Move on.
Hold on, let him finish.
A lot of the teams do kind of get bullied now in terms of like having to move people for much less than they could have been moved for.
That man no.
I do think though, once somebody says that, you know, they want out, you're gonna have to deal them because keeping them is just a losing game for both sides.
I know, but that's why you tell them shut your mouth. Keep your mouth shut.
Oh no, I agree. Like there should be some sort of conversation that says, hey, if you be quiet and we just paint this picture, we'll get you to where you want to be and we'll make it look good for both sides. Like, that's all you need to say, really.
That's all I'm saying.
But then you just have a bunch of players that aren't happy with their team and they go off and tell that other person to leak to Woj or leak to Shams like, oh, I never wanted to be here in the first place. They treated me bad. They did this, they did that. And then, yeah, like you're saying, the team is backed into a corner and you get nothing for the person. I mean, like James Harden made it look like he was getting fat. And then all of a sudden went to Brooklyn and it was like
for years.
We're just like, what? It just looked like this man was eating 10 cheeseburgers before the game. Now all of a sudden he's skinny.
I've done it.
But no,
but that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, when Mike was in high school, he didn't have a date for the prom. It was well known he didn't have to have a date for the prom. So the next thing you know, the ugliest girl in school comes up. Back to the corner. He had no choice.
I did have a date to the prom, and she wasn't the ugliest girl.
What was his name?
It was a girl.
But anyway, all in all, I do think Houston got a decent haul for everything because they at least do have the options in the draft. At least they have some young guys. At least they have some people that they can use. They're just going to have to be really bad for a pretty long time. Hopefully Christian Wood starts playing more. I mean, in those 41 games that he played, he did put up 21, 9.6 rebounds and 1.2 blocks. He even shot 37% from three as a big man. I mean, he was a very dynamic player. And I do like their draft picks. I do like Jalen Green. I think Josh Christopher will at least be a pretty good player off the bench. And now it comes down to what are they going to get for John Wall? I mean, I think there will be some teams that bite on this, and I think there will be at least one playoff team that'll say, oh, John Wall's the solution to all of our issues, even though he probably won't be. And then that team will be stuck paying him forever. But if they can get like, even if they just trade him for like a first round pick, even if it's a late one, I think that's a win in Houston's book.
How about this one? Ben Simmons.
That's been getting thrown around a lot social media wise. And I mean, I guess it's not the worst possible person you could get back for Ben Simmons if you're the Sixers. But again, you're on the hook for paying all that money. So If it doesn't work out, you're screwed. So I don't know if I really think that would be the best thing, but I guess it's an option.
What I know we're not talking about, I get it, but we're kind of segueing there. But I mean, this is what happens when guys, what else is I mean, what are you gonna do with Ben Simmons? He doesn't want to play there anymore.
That's true.
If you're gonna get a bunch of firsts and John Wall who can still play, he's a good player. He's just, he's street clothes. But if you I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than the alternative. If you get John Wall back and a shit ton of first round picks, I mean, if that's the best you're going to get, then I mean, that's what you'll have to do.
Yeah.
And damn it, I hope it happens.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially if there's picks thrown in, but I don't know. I guess.
No, it'd be fantastic for Houston.
Oh, for Houston, it'd be great.
They get rid of the geezer, and they get Ben Simmons, and he gets to go to a city where people will actually care about him.
You really think that Philly is going to trade Ben Simmons for John Wall?
I'm just saying it could happen.
To attach at least a first round pick to that, and you're going
to. He's not listening to anything I'm saying tonight. I'm saying if you could do Ben Simmons for John Wall and a bunch of firsts, you have to entertain that. Listen to what I'm saying.
Yes, but your timeline doesn't make sense.
I don't understand how it doesn't make sense.
22.
Can we go to another team?
No. Listen, the Rockets are not building to be competitive in 2023. The Rockets are building to be competitive in 2025 to 2020 to 2030. So getting Ben Simmons, who can't shoot and can only play one position, and that's a position he's never played in the NBA, isn't going to help them.
Yeah, he's pretty bad point guard.
He's not a point guard. He's a center.
He's been playing point guard, and can't shoot though. He sucks. But I said I'm not doing this tonight. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it.
I will leave with, I do think Ben Simmons would be a decent fit with Houston because of all of the offensive people that they either traded for or drafted. So Ben Simmons does not have to be a scorer, even relatively, especially if Christian Wood stays healthy, Kevin Porter Jr. keeps doing what he does, Jalen Green turning out to be what people expect him to be. Like, those three would be their three main scorers, and then you would have Ben Simmons free to do whatever he wants to do. But anyway, let's move on. Let's go up to the top now. Let's go to the Dallas Mavericks. We talk a lot of Luka Doncic here on this podcast. I feel like his name gets brought up almost every episode for whatever reason. Obviously, they have an exciting, at least next year, and however long Luka keeps this up in the future. They were a number 5 seed last season. They finished 42-30. Their downfall ended up usually being their defense. Their defense really wasn't great. And on top of that, they had the distraction and another street clothes in Kristaps Porzingis. So to me, I think this team is going to go as far as Kristaps Porzingis stays healthy, or if they can trade him for somebody that can actually stay on the court. Because we know what Luka gives you. We know what a lot of the other role players can give you. You need a second star there, and Porzingis just isn't it. I still think they'll be like a top 6, top 5 team in the West, but I don't think they're getting to the finals if they don't get a second star that can play more than 40 games.
Well, you took you literally took great minds think alike, because I was going to say the exact same thing. If you look at Luka last season, I mean, that guy at times, he looked very weathered, very worn down. And for a guy that young to be pushed to the limits like that, I mean, yes, he's young, he can handle it in some respects, but that's not a good good way to go when you have a young player like that. Porzingis at one time was a top 10 player in the league, maybe. You could
At
argue
least
that.
it's close. Yeah.
I mean, he was on the cusp there. Street clothes, yeah. Knee issues, yeah. Has had kind of some conduct issues. He's kind of hard to deal with. He bitches a lot. He complains a lot. Though I will, to his credit, I mean, where he's coming from is probably the shittiest team you could play in the world, the New York Knicks. So of course he's gonna have his guard up, but he's just gonna quit bitching. Just shut the hell up. You're not a number one player anymore. You're Luka's bitch on that team. So just deal with you take your role and shut the hell up and just deal with it. And if he can get past that and actually stay healthy, then and actually turn into like the number 2 option that he's capable of being, then for sure. I mean, that would be, but honestly, I don't think he's mature enough. I don't think his heart is in it anymore. He's not durable enough. He's just, there's so many things wrong now with Kristaps Porzingis that if they could find some way to get rid of him, that would be fantastic.
The fact that he actually complained that he wasn't getting the ball enough, like that settled it for me on him. I was like, of course you're not getting the ball enough because you're not doing enough in the first place to garner the fact to get the ball. And on top of that, you're not on the court enough to build any kind of chemistry with anybody. So like if I'm Luka Doncic, why the hell would I give you the ball?
Well, in all fairness, if you were Luka Doncic, why would you give anybody the ball?
Well, that too.
I'm going to throw out a comparison for this year's Dallas Mavericks team, and I want to see your guys' reaction. This year's Dallas Mavericks team, to me, reminds me of like the 2007 Cleveland Cavaliers. Luka's their version of LeBron. Kristaps is their version of Zydrunas Ilgauskas. And there is not another guy in this team that's really worth anything.
How dare you?
What?
Do not besmirch the name of
Zydrunas Ilgauskas, like Anthony Parker. Tim Hardaway's like Booby Gibson.
Was Drew Gooden on that team?
Drew Gooden is their Willie Cauley-Stein.
Here's the thing, though. Ilgauskas has like 7 or 8 seasons of over 70 games played. Even though Ilgauskas had a few seasons that he didn't even play and a couple other injured seasons, he actually was on the court for most of the time.
But is that fair? I feel like that's a fair comparison. You got one of the best players in the world. You got another guy who's like, okay, he could play with like top end talent, and then you got a bunch of just dog shit.
See, but here's the thing, though. As great as Luka is at this point, I still think LeBron was leaps and bounds ahead of him in terms of.
Yeah, of course.
And 2, Porzingis is better than Ilgauskas, but of course Ilgauskas is going to stay healthy because when you're playing with one of the best players to ever play the game, all you literally need to do is stand there and just grab a rebound. So his durability is not,
But then you could say the same about Porzingis.
But the thing is, Porzingis is selfish. But I will say the Dallas Mavericks do have there's a few interesting components of this team. First off, their coaching staff features Jason Kidd, Jared Dudley, and God Shamgod.
True.
I mean, that's a pretty solid coaching staff if they want to play in the coaching league. The second thing,
you ain't beating them.
The second thing is
the coaches should just take the floor.
The 2 guys is they have two-way players that are very interesting. One is Ja'Cory McLaughlin, the former UC Santa Barbara Gaucho, who was a stud his senior year, and I think it was Creighton that UC Santa Barbara almost upset in the NCAA tournament. The other guy is Eugene Amarui, who is a former Rutgers player. Coming into Rutgers, he was called the Canadian Draymond Green. And, to be fair, by his fifth year of college at Oregon. He kind of lived up to that name. No, he's not anywhere near Draymond Green as a player, but I liked his game in college. I hated that he left Rutgers, but he made it to the pros as a two-way guy, so I'm gonna root for him. And then they got Maxi Kleber, they got Boban, they got a bunch of Jalen Brunson, Villanova guy.
I mean, I do like your comparison to that Cavs team, just in the terms of you have one guy who's like top 5, and the next closest is like top 40, 50. Top 50.
And then the rest of the guys are like, if they weren't on this team, they wouldn't be in the league. Right.
And the big thing with me for this team also is the fact that not only do you have those issues with Porzingis, we know what Luka's going to give you. They extended Hardaway Jr., if I'm not mistaken, which I thought was a decent move.
They did.
Yeah. But like, there's a lot of this team that's in limbo because, like you said, there's a lot of pieces that probably wouldn't like fit on any other team. There's probably like 5 guys on this team that would probably like actually play for other teams too. And on top of that, you now have an entirely new coaching staff. This is the first time the Mavericks haven't had Rick Carlisle since like the 07-08 season, I think it was. So you have that turnover as well. Jason Kidd is
that's stupid too.
What?
I don't know. I had a moment. I just yelled. No, I just think the Rick Carlisle thing is stupid.
Oh, I agree. I don't think anything. I mean, he had his bad moments, but I don't think the reason they were losing in the playoffs or anything was Rick Carlisle's fault.
The guy won a ring with him. He can't be that bad.
Exactly. And he only had like a couple losing seasons with them too.
And can somebody pull up Jason Kidd's coaching record? Because I mean, if you think that's an improvement, like you're smoking crack.
Exactly. That's my biggest thing is I feel like every time Jason Kidd is on the list for a head coaching job, and I'm like, what exactly has he done as a head coach to always land these other jobs? Like, what did he do in Milwaukee? He had a guy run into him to spill some water to catch a timeout. That's like the thing he's known for the most.
I think that there's way more qualified coaches than Jason Kidd.
Agreed. Completely agreed.
I mean, I'd rather take one of the Van Gundy boys, bring him over.
I would definitely take Jeff Van Gundy.
God, either one of them would be fantastic.
True. I mean, I would even have
they're just funny, that's all.
I'd even have what's her name, the assistant for the Spurs. I'd rather have her.
Becky Hammond?
Yeah, Becky Hammond. I'd rather have her. But all in all, there's a lot of things in flux with the team. I still think they're going to be good. I still think they're going to win this division. But to me, they're just not a championship team. And it's going to take a couple trades, a couple moves, and probably a better coach to do that.
I don't know. When you look at the teams in that division, I mean, I could see them just riding the outside, trying to get into one of those bubble or playing games. You know what I mean? I could definitely see Sacramento picking it up this season. Golden State with Clay, if he stays healthy. Memphis could do some damage if the Lakers can stay healthy. Portland, the Clippers will fall down because they're not going to have Kawhi. But I don't see them as they could win their division easily, but I just don't see them as like a top tier team in the Western Conference.
Agreed. No, I agree, and it's like their defense. Their defense isn't good enough. And they have one star and the rest are just kind of like role player misfits. So I just don't see them really winning anything of note.
Don't call Boban a misfit. It's not his fault he's that big.
Look, I love Boban. Bobby and Toby were my favorite duo ever.
I mean, who doesn't love Boban?
I know. He has to be one of the most liked guys in the entire league.
Like, I want to hang out with him.
I know, right? Mike, didn't you have a friend that met him?
Boban?
Mike doesn't have friends.
You're talking about Boban?
Yes.
My cousin's now wife, they were getting married. They were getting married at the Ritz-Carlton in Center City in Philly, and Boban and Tobias Harris had just gotten traded like a couple weeks ago, at this time. So they were staying at the hotel. So Boban was walking through the hotel, and my cousin's wife was in her wedding dress, so they took a picture together. She's about 5'2", and he's about 7'4". So it was this huge height.
That's great. Boban's the man.
But the room next to my cousin was Tobias Harris.
That's also pretty cool.
I mean, we got 5'2", 7'6". Know what I mean?
But anyway,
you know.
Anyway, let's get off the Mavericks. I feel like we're dragging these teams out further than we need to.
5'2".
So Memphis Grizzlies, they were a 9 seed. They produced some pretty good noise in the play-in tournaments and everything. Obviously, Ja Morant, the biggest name of them all there. And I'll say it again, they have also one of the biggest street clothes in Jaren Jackson Jr. A lot of like decent young players that are getting better. They're still going to need, like a better 1-2 punch along with Ja Morant, but they're still improving, still getting better. I think they should probably finish around the same of what they did last season. Last season, they were 38-34. Like I said, they finished 9th. So they were in that playing game. They're in terms of points scored per game, their offense was better than Dallas's last year, but their defense was also 2 points worse. They tried to shore up their defense a little by getting Steven Adams. They also brought.
I was going to say that's he's much better than Jonas Valanciunas, so that's going to be the deal breaker right there.
If you don't know what he's referring to, please go back a few episodes to listen to our talk about the trade for that. But yeah, I think they're going to finish right around the same. I think they're going to be like an 8th or 9th seed, probably be in the play-in tournament. I mean, I really like Ja Morant. I'm excited to see him for another season. What about you guys?
Well, I think this team was trending in the right direction. But after further research, I think the trade to get rid of Jonas Valanciunas was not the right move for the immediate future.
I knew it. I knew it.
Does that mean that this team can't still make the playoffs? I think there's a chance they can make the playoffs. I'm just looking at their roster. They have a bunch of guys who are like good in college, but their game won't translate to the NBA. Like Sam Merrill from Utah State, Daniel Otero from Minnesota, Xavier Tillman. He's a little question mark right now. Jarrett Culver hasn't shown anything really at the NBA level. So you're relying on the health of Jaren Jackson, Ja Morant, and Dylan Brooks and Brandon Clark. So, I mean, is that enough to make the playoffs in the West? Who knows? They did get Yves Pons from Tennessee, who was a defensive specialist at Tennessee. I'm trying to figure out who didn't they trade up to draft someone? Was that Pons or am I thinking
Zaire Williams from Stanford?
I'll be completely honest. I did not watch a ton of Pac-12 basketball, so I can't speak about how good Zaire Williams.
You care way too much about these college guys.
But I know he was a teammate of Bronny James, so maybe they're playing the long game. They're gonna bring LeBron in 2025 when Bronny gets drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies.
Such a loser.
I will say at Stanford, he averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Only shot 37.4% from the floor and 29% from three.
Okay, who cares about any of these guys? What it's all going to come down to, all right. Ja Morant obviously is the number one option in Memphis. However, it's a pretty risky thing to think about when you think about Jaren Jackson Jr. being your number two option, a guy who has yet to log a full campaign since he's been in the league, played 11 games last season, productive when he's on the court, productive when he's healthy. So it's a lot of Memphis's long-term outlook is going to be dependent on how well, and not even how well, because we know Jaren Jackson Jr. can play well. We just have to, how healthy can he be? Can he be healthy? Is it going to be street clothes? That's what we want to know. Also, there's another couple things. Brandon Clark, can he be a good role playing, possible spot start when Steven Adams goes down? Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton. I think those two guys had flashes of really fantastic games last year, and I could see those two definitely stepping up their game. That's where Memphis right there, not these rookies or these guys that nobody cares about, and they played in a Pac-12, some Division III school, Hudson Valley community. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. They haven't even played they're not even a factor right now until they step on the court and they start showing something. I don't even care about who they are. I know I do care about Brandon Clark. We do care about, Melton. Can Kyle Anderson, can he play, or is he too slow? You know what I mean? Like, these types of things is all going to be how they're going to determine how well Memphis is going to be and how successful they're going to be next season. Dylan Brooks has to definitely be in the equation if they want to do anything, because he had some pretty good games last year and then he had some pretty crappy games. So he has to be like a consistent guy to step up.
Dylan Brooks was one guy that would like one game give you like 36 and the next game give you like 6.
Right. And they can't have that out of him. Like, I don't know how much they're paying him, but I'm pretty sure they're paying him a sizable amount. He had a lot of hype going into Memphis. He needs to get it done. Kyle Anderson needs to be the player that everyone thought he was when he was with the Spurs. He needs to play well. I think Melton and Bane, though, I think those two are destined to really see an uptick in their production this season. I could see great things for both those guys.
Agreed. And Brooks just signed in a 3-year extension last year, so he's making $12.2 million this coming season, and then 11.4 the season after.
Okay, well, he's not even making that much, so
yeah, and
he can suck as much as he wants to then.
So yeah, I mean, this really does come down to the health of Jaren Jackson, and then if that doesn't pan out, how well can the others actually step up and take over that crater of talent? I actually didn't realize until I started looking at the stats how bad of a rebounder Jaren Jackson actually is. I didn't realize he only hovers around 4 to 5 rebounds a game, especially for a 7-footer. But
I mean, good thing they have Jonas Valanciunas. Oh wait, they don't anymore. Sorry.
So, I mean, that was interesting to me, just something that I just didn't realize. But yeah, that's what this team comes down to. And as of right now, I still think they have plenty of building left to do. And there's going to be a good amount of people that they're going to need to add if they want to actually be in the upper echelon of the Western Conference. I mean, at least you have a little bit of time because Ja Morant, still very young. A lot of your main pieces in this team still very young. So you got a few years, but at some point you got to start turning the corner and getting some guys that are actually going to contribute to getting you into that upper echelon. And so,
I mean,
go ahead.
Jaren Jackson last season, when he did start, he did average 6 rebounds. So I do want to give him.
Okay. I mean,
give him a little. I mean, it's still sucks, but it means It's better than 4.
True. It is at least a little bit better. So let's move on to the San Antonio Spurs.
You want to know something? I wouldn't give a shit if he had a rebound and a half a game, as long as he could get on the damn floor and actually play.
I mean, that's true, because his offensive game is undeniable. He has so much talent on the offensive end. But yeah, I mean, like Jaren Jackson makes Joel Embiid look super healthy. And that's
bad. That's bad.
Exactly.
I was trying to think about my all street clothes team for a shooting guard, and I still can't come up with anybody.
Would it be Eric Gordon?
No, I don't know, because he really doesn't matter that much to be street clothes.
I mean, Victor Oladipo.
Yes, okay, he's street clothes.
There we go.
If the street clothes team could stay healthy, they'd win 5 championships in a row. If they were all on the same team, be amazing.
Oh, they'd be like the Monstars.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I mean, okay.
From Space Jam.
Yeah. No, don't do that. I don't know what that is. Besides, I know the movie. I know what Space Jam is. I just don't know what the Monstars are.
It's the team that Michael Jordan plays against.
Everybody get up. It's time to slam.
When did Space Jam, the first one, come out?
1996.
Yeah, I never watched it.
You uncultured senior citizen.
I did watch Predator the other night, though.
Was it a story about it? No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
I will, yeah.
Moving on to the San Antonio Spurs. They finished in the 10th seed. They were 33-39. Nothing really to write home. What was that?
Said, son of a bitch, he got me.
Took a while, but he got you.
He can't go 100 feet near a school.
Nothing to write home about, really, about the San Antonio Spurs. They had a lot of issues health-wise with Derek White. They have a couple decent young names. DeMar DeRozan was obviously like the biggest name on the team. And obviously at this point with this kind of team, DeMar DeRozan isn't really going to be doing much for them. But obviously they shipped him off. He goes to Chicago. And right now it looks like the leaders of this team are really going to be Dejounte Murray. It's going to be Derek White. It's going to be Jakob Poeltl. And really that's as much as it's going to be. They added Doug McDermott. They still got Lonnie Walker there, who still hasn't amounted to the type of player that everyone thought he was going to be.
Stop with the Lonnie Walker.
Hey, I've always been a Lonnie fan. He's from around me. I'll always cheer for him.
Shut the hell up. I mean,
what? He averaged 11 points a game last year.
He wasn't terrible.
I know, but Lonnie Walker. I mean,
Lonnie
like,
Walker. Lonnie Walker.
And then you say Jakob
Poeltl.
Whatever. Poeltl. Poeltl.
No,
Yeah.
Poetl.
No, it's Poeltl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So shut up, Mike. I could. So I still can't pronounce. I still don't know how you get Poeltl at a Poeltl.
It's Poeltl.
No, it's pronounced Poeltl.
Whatever.
How do you get that out of that?
I don't know. I'm just
like, how do you get Tunga Vailoa out of Tua's last name?
I'm just looking at the pronunciation on Basketball Reference.
I bet there's not an R in there.
I don't know. Ask whatever country he's from. Austria.
That explains things.
Tunga Vailoa.
It's the Arnold Schwarzenegger accent.
It's Predator. We're just talking about it.
Anyway, like they have some decent people. That Trey Jones is a guy that they're still waiting to see what happens with him. He didn't really play all that much last year.
I'll tell you what's going to happen with Trey Jones. He sucks. I mean, this whole team sucks. Can we stop pretending like
Hey,
there's
they have
upside?
Team USA gold medalist Keldon Johnson on the team.
Yeah, that too. I'm like, gee, I wonder how he got on a team. No, don't first off me. Hold on. All right, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
First off, I do like Keldon Johnson. I like Murray. I like Derek White. Obviously, if he stays healthy, those are three guys on the team that I do like a lot. Jakob Poeltl, I think, is a good backup big man. I don't think he's a quality starting center. And now they have Thaddeus Young. I always like Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young is a good bench big man as well. But the team
I think he'll be starting.
But the team does stink.
Yeah, really bad. And the fact that like you're trying to sell it like you're like a used car salesman. You're trying to sell like there's an upside to this team, and there's not. Pop is way past his prime. He's out of touch with anything that's going on now. It's time for a complete teardown of that entire team. That whole team just needs to be completely torn down. Coaching staff changed. Everything just has to be changed about that team. The glory days in San Antonio are over. Manu Ginobili's gone. Kawhi Leonard's gone. Everybody's gone. Tim Duncan's gone.
I do agree that everything needs to be ripped down. They need to start the rebuild. It has to happen.
Like now.
There's nothing you can do with this team right now to make it any good. This team right now is like a 94 Honda Civic with like some cool paint on it. The cool paint being Murray, White, and Keldon Johnson.
What are the things they put on the cars on the back of them? It's like a fin.
Oh, the spoiler.
That's what Keldon Johnson is. Like, okay, I guess it looks cool.
And Dejounte Murray is like the flame paint.
Hey, they got Darius Songaila as an assistant coach.
I mean,
is he any relation to Tornike Songaila?
I don't know.
M. Night Shyamalan?
He's a Philly guy.
Who? M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah, he's from Philly.
Oh.
Okay. He sits courtside at a bunch of Sixers games.
I thought that was the name of a. Never mind.
That one movie.
Wait, what did you think it was the name of?
I thought it was a character like in a show or a movie. M. Night I didn't know that was a real person.
He's the famous movie director.
Yeah, Signs, man. You ain't getting any better than that. I guarantee it.
M. Night Shyamalan. I never knew that was a real person.
Signs did you see Signs?
And you were calling Dennis uncultured?
All right.
Yeah.
What movies has he made that I've actually watched?
Signs?
Airbender.
Have you never seen Signs?
No.
What?
Throw this idiot off the show.
It's about to turn into a movie podcast.
But I think this is important.
Get your boy in here.
Who?
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh. Oh God.
How about the one he's like, I see dead people. He made that one too.
The Sixth Sense.
Yeah. That was good. Anyways, Keldon
You haven't
Johnson.
seen any of these?
I've never seen any of his movies.
Wow.
What's the one with the plants? The plants.
That's very specific.
No, the plants. They were making the people like kill themselves.
You mean the recent one that he had?
And Marky Mark was in it.
Oh, the one with Mark Wahlberg. That's a good question. I forget.
That was a good one too.
I know what you're talking about. I just completely forget what it's called. The Happening.
The Happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's The Happening. I'm looking it up right now. I'm on his list of movies.
But anyway,
anything else that stands out that
I know one of his most recent movies was a flop, but anyway.
Yeah, because I think what happens is when you make Signs, like you can't top that.
I know when you throw out classics like Signs and The Sixth Sense, it's pretty hard to.
That's like when Hanson did like Bop, and then everything else after that was just you can't top it. Keldon Johnson.
Anyway,
sucks.
So yeah, San Antonio, they're not going to be that great.
Yeah, they suck.
They got Joshua Primo in the draft. I mean, he could be decent. They got Jock Landale from St. Mary's. I don't think he's going to amount to much. But yeah, so San Antonio, actually, I honestly think San Antonio is going to drop a lot farther than they did last season, because at least last year they had somebody like DeMar DeRozan. I think they're going to win between like 20 to 25 games next season, and they should, because they should start rebuilding. And the last team we have,
did they
go ahead?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, how much longer do you think Pop still has around in San Antonio? Like, are they like scared to tell him they don't want him there anymore?
You're saying 3 seasons, Mike?
3 seasons, and then Becky Hammond will take over.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say next season is his last season, or this coming season. Because I think he sees the writing on the wall that they need to blow it up. And I don't think, like, if I was him, I'd be like, man, I'm too old for this to start with a whole new team of young kids.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, I know Pop has been through a lot in over the years and stuff. He lost his wife and things like that. Right. I think, which is unfortunate. So I think that the team's not losing anything right now by letting him stay around a little bit longer. But I if they made him a consultant, something, keep him tied to the organization would be fantastic. I just think now's the time to give the, pass the torch, give it to Becky Hammond, see what she's all about. She's certainly been passed over way too many times for a head coaching spot. So let's get her rolling. Let's see what we got, and let's move forward with the organization.
Yep, I agree. So let's move on to the last team, the New Orleans Pelicans, 11 seed last year, 31-41. They had much higher hopes than that with the team that they had and bringing in Stan Van Gundy. They don't.
Boy, they did that guy. They did him dirty.
Stan Van Gundy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they got rid of him real quick.
I mean, that guy, whatever team he goes to, man, he just gets hung out to dry wherever the hell he goes.
He really has gotten a bad rap from most of the places he's been. I mean, obviously, I don't think that, especially last year, that this team was built to succeed. But so right now they still got Zion, still got Brandon Ingram. Jackson Hayes is still there. Nickeil Alexander-Walker gets another year of growth. Kira Lewis, he's going to grow. They re-signed Josh Hart. They brought in Devontae Graham and Jonas Valanciunas. They also signed, I think it was
Satoransky
and Willie Hernangomez. Rookie wise, I mean, not exactly that many people to write home about. Trey Murphy III from Virginia.
Herb Jones from Alabama. And they have a couple two-way guys, Jose Alvarado from Georgia Tech and Dalton Holmes. But all in all, I mean, I feel like last year they finished 31-41. I think they're going to finish with around probably between 35, 40 wins. I'm a little higher on them this year. I think Zion, obviously we all think Zion's a budding star. Brandon Ingram has proven how good he is. But I think the acquisitions of Jonas Valanciunas and Tomas Satoransky are, and I know Dennis loves Satoransky.
How could you not, though? To be honest with you,
I think
know
the
he
two
likes-
of those is
I
really
know he
gonna-
likes Devontae Graham too.
I think the
Yes.
two of those. I think the two of those guys and Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham is another good pickup. I think those three veterans are really going to help the transition from the young guys with the veterans. I think we're going to see improvements at Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and I'm not just saying that because I acquired him in our Dynasty League. I think Jackson Hayes will learn a lot playing behind Valanciunas. And I mean, I just think it's going to be the Zion and Ingram show offensively. I think you're going to see Zion put up 20, 10, and like it, every night easily. And Brandon Ingram's going to go off for 25 to 30 a night every game. I like what they're building there. They got a lot of good pieces. They got, a couple stars to lean on, a couple good complementary pieces, and their veterans that they brought in are not selfish guys. They brought in good veterans. So, I mean, I think this team's going to push for a playoff spot, and I wouldn't be surprised if this team wins north of 45, 47 games.
Wow. I am very excited to see this Willie Green coaching experiment, though. I will say that.
Wasn't he on the Sixers?
Yes, he was. I'm reading the whole book about like the start of the process in Sam Hinkie, and they mentioned Willie Green because when he was on the team and Billy King was the GM, Willie Green in 7 seasons with the Sixers played for 6 different head coaches, which is insane. But anyway, your thoughts, Dennis.
Hi. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, guys, he's
No.
aging.
No, I like it all of a sudden now Mike's on the Jonas Valanciunas bandwagon. I mean, that was a significant upgrade. Yes, he's getting older, but he has a couple more good seasons left in front of him. Yeah, he sucks on the defensive end, big deal, but the guy's a high rebound, efficient scorer inside. So that to me was a significant upgrade in the middle. I'm high on Valanciunas all the time. I have been since he's been in Toronto. I think he got a bad rap in Toronto for his defense, which in some ways it was warranted, but not really. I mean, the guy's a good player. He's consistent. Like, he's always consistent. The guy's always seems to be getting a double-double every time he plays. They lost Lonzo Ball, which everybody knows I'm a huge Lonzo guy. They did make amends for that, though, by bringing in Devontae Graham, who is a fantastic player in his own right. Brandon Ingram this season is going to enter the All-Star conversation for sure. He's on the list of guys who I think are on the cusp of, like Michael Porter, Spencer Dinwiddie, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball. These are all guys who are capable of being all-stars this season. I certainly think Brandon Ingram's a guy. He's in a place now where he's starting to get respected. He's has more responsibility now than he's ever had in his career. He's had flashes of really good games last season. He's the real deal, and I think he's going to fit in really well there. The biggest question mark, though, of course, is going to be Zion Williamson. Is he going to stay healthy? Is he too big and chubby to, maintain an 81 games or an 82 game grind? I mean, is he capable of doing that? We don't know because we haven't seen it. Is his body going to hold up? What type of condition is he going to be in? He's a fantastic player. We all know that. But the biggest question mark is, can his body maintain that grind? And if the answer is yes, Zion Williamson is going to be in the MVP conversation one day. And that could start this season. You know what I mean? But if he can't, if his body starts falling apart, which I have a feeling that it's going to, this Pelicans team can go one of two ways, either really good or not so good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely think they go as far as Zion takes them.
And you got Thomas Satoransky too, who's just been a stable, consistent player, can do a lot of things. He can come off the bench. He can spot start when you need to. He's a guy who I could see could enter the 6th man of the year conversation if he really wanted to.
For sure. I mean, they definitely have a lot of decent pieces. I just think there's a lot of things that need to happen for this team to be a playoff contender in the West. And I'm not sure if they all are going to happen. I'm confident about Zion, but the rest I'm not confident about.
How many teams, though, have they got rid of that bum Bledsoe? He's gone. He's useless. All right. So how many teams can say that they have Brandon Ingram? Well, I know only one team could say that, but how many teams could say that they have a caliber of the type of roster of a Brandon Ingram, a Devontae Graham, and a potential top 5 player moving forward, like a guy who is going to take over the league when, the James Hardens, the LeBron James, when all those guys start aging, which is happening now. We're starting to see that. He is a guy who is going to be the face of the league along with Luka Doncic and things like that. So if he could play up to his potential and get some support from that front office, which I don't really have, I have my doubts because we've all seen what happens in New Orleans, unfortunately. But I mean, Zion is a guy who has the ceiling of potentially bringing a team to a NBA Finals appearance.
Oh no, I completely agree about, and that's what I mean. I'm not worried about the kind of production that Zion is going to bring. I know what he's going to bring, and I think I agree with you that I think he's going to be a potential top 5 player and could be an MVP candidate and will be an MVP candidate at least at some point in his career.
You agree with me a lot.
It has been a lot this week. But the thing that I'm just curious to see is how the coaching staff does, because obviously Willie Green hasn't had a head coaching job before. And then how the rest of the pieces fit in, and if Brandon Ingram makes the leap in his growth or not. Those are the things that I'm not as confident about, but that I think could still happen.
I mean, I certainly think that Brandon Ingram, I don't think he really needs to make that much of a leap. He's already there.
I think he does to be a all-star in the West.
I mean, can we remember the one time when the Pelicans had Monty Williams as their head coach?
True. And then it went to Alvin Gentry after that, I think.
Yeah, and that poor dude. What's he makes it? He's in that commercial now.
Which commercial?
I think it's like Prilosec or something. I don't know. God. And anyways, so I mean, Alvin Gentry. I mean, they toyed with that guy too. Remember, they were like, "Nah, we have confidence in him. He's going to be the coach. He's blah blah blah." And they're like, "Boom, you're out of here." And then they bring in Stan Van Gundy, who looks like Rod Jeremy, and boom, one season, you hear about him and Zion not getting along, and I'm like, I don't know what it is about Stan Van Gundy that guys don't like playing for him. We know Dwight Howard hated it. Yeah. Now Zion, but like, what is he like? What is he doing wrong? Is he racist? I mean, what is going on here that these guys don't like playing for him?
I think if I remember correctly, Blake Griffin didn't like playing for him in Detroit either.
Well, he's an idiot, so I mean that would make sense. So, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, Blake Griffin. I mean, come on. Like, who would care what Blake Griffin would have to say?
Yeah, that's true. But I believe that is it for us. I think we have rambled on about each team a little too long. But
did you say Rambo? Rambo? It's a good movie.
More. Of course. Rambo. I mean, Rambo goes to Rocky, which then is more Philly. So I'm always down for Rambo. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching another episode and listening to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, give us a rating and review. That helps us out greatly for the ratings, the rankings, everything on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. We're everywhere you get podcasts. Make sure you do.
Like, you just got to click a button. Like, you literally just got to go to our YouTube page and just click the like thing. It's not really that hard.
Exactly. Just click it. It's even a finger tap for some stuff.
Like, that's it. It would take you 2 seconds.
Exactly. So please do that. Help us out. Thank you everybody for watching. And again, we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.